Eastern time.
7 o'clock Central. I am Jen Ingram, change coach with Leanne. You know what? I went to just say your last name. Is it Bonnell or Bonnell?
It's Bonnell.
How have I never? Okay, good. I always say it Bonnell just because I feel like it's like Bonnell, but
That's how my husband says it. And I kind of inherited it from him. So yeah. So I'm Leanne Bonnell with Grit and Grace. I'm a
Grit and
leadership
Grace.
mindset coach.
Yes. Tonight's topic is we wanted to talk about alternate personas and acting as if. Actually, you shared a great post today about confidence and showing up as a woman with confidence. And I feel like that kind of plays into that alternate persona. And it kind of, I think I posed a question the other day about, have you ever used an alternate persona?
Yeah, every day of my life. I do. And the fun thing about alternate personas is it kind of makes life a lot easier. And I'm actually looking for the Facebook Live that it's streaming to. I wanted to share it, but you know what? I'll share it later. That's why I'm looking up. My second screen is up. So that's why you see me looking up. So yeah, my alternate persona helped me through this last year of getting through this COVID disaster, is really what I call it, is the COVID disaster year that we've had in 2020. And I really rely heavily, and I know that kind of sounds silly, but I really rely heavily on the persona that I have developed of myself over the years. I am a recovering engineer, and engineers are very detail oriented. We're very focused. We take a lot of pride in taking baling wire, PVC pipe, and duct tape and making the biggest Taj Mahal that you can find, and just making things work. And there's a lot to that. And that's really what we have been doing over the last 12 months or so, when the world shut down. So there is a lot to it. And what has grown out of that for me, and especially as learning how to be a coach, is that confidence of, you know what, I don't care what's going on, we got to make this stuff work. And so my alter egos have just, it's not like the three faces of Eve in this head, but just kind of, willing to learn, willing to move forward, willing to accept what I can change and ignore what I can't, and just keep powering through. Does that make any sense?
Yes. Right?
Yeah. So part of my post today was the women who I work with, they are STEM women. They're science, technology, engineering, mathematics women. They are women who are very much involved in their own world. And they are beautiful women who are sometimes caught in the wrong spots. And they don't really know how to move from one end to another, and they forget the confidence that they have built up in those worlds. So I wanted to kind of remind them who they were and why they needed to be reminded about who they were. So that's part of what I wrote about today.
Well, do you think, I mean, being in a tech world, or the technical world, any of the STEM fields, really, let's be honest, I think a lot of those, they are male dominated.
Absolutely.
So you almost do have to put on a little bit of a persona because, and this is, I don't know if this is where Grit and Grace came from, but you've kind of got you got one or two ways as you show up in the workplace then in a male dominated industry, because if you show up with what others might perceive as too much confidence, then you're a bitch. Right? If you don't show up with that confidence, then you're perceived as timid and you just get run over and you have no voice.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have no like where's the balance
There is
of
no balance. There isn't any. And I always opted for the bitch because frankly, I would rather be the bitch that, and I've got some great stories about grown men who come from the culture of, and I'll tell you a great story.
do we get with the persona?
With the persona. So I was working for a company in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Oh yes.
You say it fast like that with Spark. Okay, I used to work with some folks at a DuPont plant in Spartanburg.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, how fun. I used to work with a guy who got asked to seek excellence elsewhere from that DuPont factory. Anywho, one of my favorite victims. Anyway, but this particular this was not the particular gentleman I was thinking of. This particular guy, he ran our receiving area, and he he came from Somaliland, and we called him the pirate because, you know, the Somali pirates. Arr. And we all knew who he was when we talked about him. Well, he got me as his engineer because there were 4 engineers, 1 left, so there was 3. I got 3/4 of that plant became my responsibility. Oh, indeed. It was 1 million square feet. And yeah. I got 750 square feet of it. You want to talk about pulling my hair out. And a big chunk of that was receiving. And so this guy would go and demand and jump up and down, and I would just simply say, no, we don't have the resources to allocate to it. And he would get mad. And I'd say, I'm sorry, no, you know, can't do it. And I'd walk back into the engineering room, and he and his supervisors would follow me, and the other engineers would tell me it would be the most hilarious thing because, you know, I have long hair, so it would be up in a ponytail generally, and I'd walk back and it'd be swinging back and forth, and he'd be hot on my heels, and they'd run down to his supervisor's office and slam goes the door, and I'd just be sitting at my desk and I'd be waiting because I knew what they were doing. They were in there ratting me out to their boss because they did not have the wherewithal to come and talk to me like grown-ups. So then the door would open, those 3 idiots would walk back to the receiving department, they'd go back and do their thing, and his boss would walk down to my boss's office, whose door was right in front of my desk, slam, and I'd sit there. And my boss would tell his boss that there was no resources to allocate. But I was a bitch for telling them.
Because you said no.
There was no, I mean, it wasn't like I was making stuff up. I wasn't being difficult. I just said there was no resources to allocate. So, you know, every time this little fellow decided he was going to jump up and down and act like a fool, and I would say no, it was because I was a bitch. It wasn't because we had a well thought out plan. Any explanation I gave him went in one ear and out the other because, you know, he was a man and how dare I speak to him that way. And I'm like, dude, I am not talking. I have no use for you. And before long, I just started ignoring him and doing what I was going to do anyway. And there was no playing nice after a while. There just wasn't any. And it was because there was some of me going in there and going, yeah, I don't care what your thoughts are. I just don't care. But there was a lot of, well, I'm the man and I want to get it. I'm like, honey, you go talk to your wife that way. You ain't talking to me that way. I don't know who you think you're talking to, sweetheart. So yeah, it is very important to me to work with those women because in the world of today, and I'm not even getting into the whole Me Too movement thing. That's
That's a whole other ball game,
that's a
girl.
whole other ball game.
Whole other
Some
ball
days
game.
I wish that were the ball game I was playing. The sad straight story of it was my ass wasn't tight enough, my legs weren't long enough. My boobs were there, but the rest of it wasn't. But the fact of the matter is, some of these men who came up, they just they just expect that you are a woman, and depending on where they have come from, and what their idea of diversity may be, if you're female, you don't count. And that's sad. Really sad.
It's sad. And then, I mean, I know that you're saying you reach a point where you didn't care, but likely that wasn't your starting point, right? When you come out of school, you get your engineering degree, you're freaking stoked. You're like, I'm ready to take on the world. Give me a project.
Yes. Oh my God, yes. And you learn all this stuff, and you're like, you just want to change things. Like, I started off the world in automotive. The first time I saw an assembly line with cars on it, I was super stoked. I was so excited. I loved every part of it, from the part where the car carrier came down to meet the engine, and the part, oh God, see, it's been a while since I've been away from it, but the chassis, that's the
Yeah.
word. But the top of the car met the chassis where they came together. It's called marriage. you know Body shop, where they got painted, everything. I was so excited about all that. And then you start working in it, and you're like, I can't do this for the next 40 years.
And all of a sudden, yeah, that changes, right?
Right. And
And you lose, like, so then who are you? Who do you have to become to continue in that environment every day?
yeah. And I looked around me, and I, as a young 24, 25, 26-year old, looked around me, and I saw these women who were, I mean, they were on the line. Some of them were, and well, they weren't engineers, but they worked in the plant, in the office, doing various jobs. They were in the materials department, they were wherever. And I thought to myself, yay, they look old. And they looked old.
Yeah.
Like life had just beaten them and beat on them.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, peace out. I need to get out of here. I just need to get out of here. So as much as I loved it, as much as I found it fascinating, I had to find something else.
Yeah. And so the clients that I work with, I we do have a little bit of crossover between the clients that you work with and the clients that I work with, because the clients that I work with, I'm really focused on, they enter the workforce with the same thought of, I have a purpose. I went to school for this. I dreamed of this. I'm excited. And they think they're living their purpose. And eventually they figure out, those boundaries get blurred between living your purpose and needing to set boundaries for your own self and your health. And then before you know it, your health is, because you're so exhausted from the persona that you have to put on at work every day, because you either do have to be the bitch or you have to be something timid. Um and and so and for so many, you come home and what do? You eat.
Yeah.
And I mean, eat or drink or both,
And
right?
what do you turn to? Here's what you turn to. Oh, shush. It was all I could find out of the vending machine today. And let me tell you, this, the food I found out of the vending machine today, yeah, it's no wonder we have an epidemic of obesity. I have, and you know, because you've known me for has it only been a year? It seems like a lot longer than that.
Forever.
we now, y'all, I will tell you, I feel like I've known this woman for most of my life because we just connect like that. But
Right.
I was at the hospital today. My husband had surgery. He had his deviated septum fixed. It wasn't heart surgery or anything. But if it were heart surgery, y'all, if this is what I'm finding in a heart surgeon's vending machine, really?
Yep.
Now, it took me all day to eat this, but when I started this journey, even back when I was an engineer, I would have inhaled this just because it helped with the stress. I ate cheesy popcorn and those cheese cracker things only because it was the healthiest thing I could find in the vending machine. And then I
Right.
got these because I'm like, dessert. But again, I got these at like noon. And
Well, I'm impressed that you still have a bunch.
yeah, I still have some. And you know what? I was going to get a pop. For all of those of you that are not in the Midwest, a pop is a soda,
A soda, a
but
Coke. If you were West Coast, everything was Coke.
well, in the South, it's all Coke too. But I have my 32-ounce thing full of water, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get a Coke. And then I looked and I'm like, no, I'm not, because that'll hurt my stomach. And then I looked around and I'm like, there's got to be a drinking. I found the drinking fountain. So I filled this baby back up and I drank it. Because I'm certain that a Coke or a soda or whatever you want to call it, anything fizzy with a cap that goes, psst, that's not a
Yep.
beer, would have probably destroyed my stomach and made me just yak, to be quite bold, because now I eat things that have spinach in them. Like not like frozen gross spinach, but like real spinach, you know, the
Real.
little leaf, they actually are leaves. And you know, I eat things like eggs, like real eggs. Like, did you know they come out of chicken's butts? I've got duck eggs in my fridge.
Oh.
I know. My hairdresser gave them to me. She's like, they're super creamy. Eat them. I'm like, okay.
Like just scrambled?
Yeah.
I'm so curious.
I have real butter. I eat real food. So garbage like this, there's still
So
stuff in
good.
here. Garbage like this makes me sick to my stomach. There's too much sugar in there.
It is.
I don't even know why I got off this topic, but I do know this. When I was working in a plant, this was my go-to.
Yeah.
And I would eat garbage like this all the time. And now it's like a one time a week. I had chicken noodle soup that my husband made for dinner because he made a crap ton of it because he knew that's what he would want when he was done with surgery. And I was just like, oh, thank you. Yum, 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 yum.
Real food.
Real food. FOOD. Not whatever crap is put in a bag.
For me, it was the peanut M&Ms. In fact, when I was working at that company that we serviced that DuPont facility or several DuPont facilities, it was the peanut M&Ms. And I distinctly remember, it's so funny, the BS stories that we tell ourselves. I distinctly remember telling people, this is my protein. They have peanuts and peanuts have protein. So you see, I'm doing myself a favor.
Yes.
And that's just bullshit.
Like, it is complete bullshit.
Every day, I in the afternoon, that was what I grabbed. I grabbed those damn peanut M&Ms out of the machine, and I was like, oh, I'm getting protein. It was sugar. It was crap. And it's to me how for so long, we just fed our bodies this crap without even realizing like how bad we felt until we go the total opposite direction. And then one day, if we slip back, you're like, oh God, I did this every day. And I was just so used to that feeling, you don't even know.
Hmm.
It's so crazy.
Yes, and the headaches, the sugar
Constant.
headaches. Hmm.
Mhm.
I'm getting one. And it's just from the poor nutrition and the vending machine eating. And yet, when you take the time, because I know that you meal prep, and I do it kind of half-assed, but I do it. Um, Thankfully, and as we go along, you all will hear about my Jason. And one day he will watch this and he'll say, "Why are you talking about me?" Because he's a major influence in my life. He does not understand how much he has saved my life. Um, he he is I'm grateful for him because he has saved my life in that he he's my trainer, and he insists on seeing my food log every week. Every week. So I bring it to him. I meet with him 3 times a week, and I bring him my food log 3 times a week. And it's so funny because he'll look at it, and the days that it's bad, oh, it's bad. And when I screw up, I screw up good. And
Right?
he will say things like, "I can't believe you just ate a packet of M&M. You were doing so good." But um he has encouraged me to eat properly. And I sometimes feel like his foot is on my neck, but without that accountability, I was never going to do all that. And yet I know what to do.
We all know what to do.
I'm certified in it. I tell other people what to do. But
Um,
it's no wonder that there's such an epidemic of diabetes and overweight and everything. And yet this last week, I've been taking off medications because I've been eating properly. I've been doing the right things. My doctor finally took me off one of my medications. I'm like, yes.
that's fantastic. Yes.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
eat right,
it's
exercise, die anyway, but get taken off those medications.
yeah, man. I know. Yeah, I haven't taken any medication, and I used to take a sleeping pill. I used to take Ambien. Oh
Oh,
God,
Lord.
that stuff. Woo,
I
got
had a
some
girlfriend.
stories. That
I had a girlfriend who got a speeding ticket while taking Ambien.
okay,
What was it? She got
function when they take it.
she went driving. She didn't even know it.
But that's just it. You don't know what you're doing. It's bizarre. It is so bizarre. And yeah, no, I was on that. I don't even know what else I was. I was on an anxiety med, an antidepressant. Yeah, no, not on any of them now. And I haven't been for a while. I know. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, and that's the hardest part. Like, you know what'll get you out of your depression is exercise, but yet you're so depressed to show up for the exercise is it's this like conundrum. What are you gonna do? But yeah, so I mean, but it's just like what you were talking about earlier, where you're in this environment where you're having to show up as something you don't even want to be every single day. It's just wearing you down. Um, and and I know for me, I mean, I felt like an imposter. I was like, I'm stuck. I was getting rejections at work like crazy. And I was thinking in my mind, well, how are they ever going to believe that I can do the role that I really want to do if I feel like I can't even show up and show I'm capable of not shoving my face with food all day.
Right. Or
And
walking from desk to find the best candy.
oh my God, I would go to the other buildings and check out their break room and their little potluck area to see what they brought. And then like, these are leftovers.
Oh yeah, I know that life.
Yeah. But as long as I'm walking from break room to break room, you know what I don't have to do?
Work.
Sit at my desk in misery. Right.
Because you can also tell yourself that if you're walking from break room to break room, you're getting exercise.
You're gonna exercise. I didn't put my steps in today.
Oh, girl, I live that dream. Oh yeah.
Oh, stories. God.
Y'all who are watching these people walk past you every day, they aren't walking to see so and so at their desk. They're walking to get their steps in so they can also check out who's got food.
Telling you.
And when I got married, we had something like 12 cakes when we got married, because instead of flower centerpieces, we had cakes on each table.
Oh, okay.
And so when we got back from our honeymoon, I was like, I want all this shit out of my house. I took it to work. I took it to work. It was gone in a day.
It's all one. You know where it goes? It goes to the office.
Mm-hmm. And so many people, I mean, oh, I'm on a diet. Here, let me get one of those slabs again. I'm on a diet. Let me have that donut.
Oh my God. Well, and it never failed. Guess who was the first one to volunteer to be in charge of like the potluck days and to plan all the food days? It was always me.
Oh, it was not me.
Oh, it was all me. I was like, I'll plan the food day. Every other week, we sure had a food day.
Oh the last plant I worked at, it seemed like once a quarter they had a huge food day. And I mean, they did not suffer for the food. And I mean, they had petty cash drawer was emptied out for the food, and it was sponsored by the plant. And you know, looking back on it, it was not the skinny people who planned it. It was pizzas, it was subs, it was hamburgers, it was plant appreciation days.
Them anymore. I don't even partake in them.
Well, are you back to work at a regular office?
I'm not in the office, no. But so just before COVID, but it's been, I mean, we would still have potlucks and stuff, you know, over the last couple years before COVID, and I just no longer participated. And I do have to say, I kind of felt bad because obviously there is a bit of a social connection that does get made when you're going through that process. Maybe you're sharing a recipe or whatever. Although my trainer always says people share recipes. And it's not a total lie. Like, how simple when you're really focusing on eating real food, your focus, I mean, it's such a simplified process. Hey, I know I'm gonna have probably a protein, a veggie, a carb. Like, what? I don't need a recipe. Although I'm saying this, and I messaged one of our other health coach friends recently. She was showing a recipe book she had gotten. I was like, okay, I don't know what you're fixing there, but that looks really good. But again, it wasn't something super complex. I probably could have looked at the picture and figured it out. It was just real food. But yeah, so even participating in those potluck days, it's 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 such an old version of me. It's actually difficult for me to participate.
So what personas did you have, especially because where our backgrounds diverge is you had a little one you were caring for. I mean, he our baby's going to graduate. He's a senior. Um, now that wasn't meant to give you tears, but he is going off to his own life now. But that's where our lives are a lot different. I never had little ones unless you count the cats that I had to to deal with. But you had a child that you had to feed, and that had to be a little harder because you not only had to go to work and you had to be that person at work, but then you had to come home and be mommy and actually feed a little human who may or may not like Brussels sprouts. I mean, I'm a big human. I don't like Brussels sprouts.
He did not like Brussels sprouts.
So how did you handle that in your world?
You know, in some aspects, I was lucky because he, um, no, he did not like Brussels sprouts. There was some food that at first he was like, no, mom, no, you're crazy. But now keep in mind, and I know I think I've told this story on my page before. I was living in a house when I first started my health journey. I was living in a house where I had not turned on the oven in like the 3 or 4 years I had lived there. I didn't even know if it worked. Okay. I I mean, my level of cooking was like, oh, well, it was very simple. A box of macaroni and cheese because I alone could eat the entire box of macaroni and cheese, and
Absolutely.
that would be dinner. Um, I mean, just something super stovetop simple or something in the microwave. Um, but I also had a Foreman grill, and I did like using the Foreman grill for things. And so I started with just chicken, ground turkey, super simple things. My son he loves like Chinese food, things like that. And one of the easy meals that I learned towards the very beginning is what I call egg roll in a bowl.
Oh, yeah.
And have you had that?
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Well, it's so easy. It's literally like either a ground of you could do ground chicken, you could do pork, you can do ground turkey, whatever you want to do. But or you could just do chicken breast. I've done it that way. But anyways, a pound of that and a bag of coleslaw. Some I eventually learned what liquid aminos were, which is a soy sauce alternative. And and then I would throw in some other vegetables, and he luckily he loved it and I loved it, and I could make a huge pot of it, and that would meal prep my lunches for the week. Um, and then there were some things that he was totally good with. If I grilled up a bunch of chicken on that Foreman grill, if I threw some cheese on top and some barbecue sauce and threw it in between a hamburger bun, he was good.
Wow.
So I got lucky. And then over time, he slowly developed a taste for some of the vegetables. Like I remember the first time I tried to get him to eat Brussels sprouts, and he was like, I don't like Brussels sprouts. I've tried Brussels sprouts at my stepmom's house. They're the nastiest thing in the world. And I'm like, okay, well, you haven't tried these Brussels sprouts. Because I told him, I go, well, how did she cook it? And he was like, I don't know. And I said, well, were they really, really green? And he's like, yes. I was like, okay. Well, I've roasted these in balsamic vinegar and oil and a bunch of garlic. And both he and I love garlic. And I remember he was looking at the huge sheet pan of them that I had roasted, and he was like, these don't look like the Brussels sprouts I ate. I was like, they don't taste like the Brussels sprouts you ate. I was like, I need you to take a no thank you bite. Now, luckily, from very early on, we had a rule in our house of a no thank you serving and no thank you bites. So your no thank you serving was a spoonful of whatever it was, and you had to take at least 3 no thank you bites. And so, you know, if after 3 bites you decide you just really don't like it, you can then say, no, thank you. And so I was like, no, these are not like the Brussels sprouts that I think you had. I'm thinking you either had like boiled or steamed or whatever. This is different. And he tried to bite and he was like, you're right, this is different. I'm like, okay. So I walk away briefly and I remember coming back. I kid you not, half the sheet pan was gone. And I was like, because at this time he would have been, because he's 18 now, and this was he would have been 14. So he's a teenage boy. So I can't walk away from food. It would be gone. I mean,
That's how 14-year-old boys are. They eat everything that's not nailed down.
So yeah, I mean, if I cooked up, I would grill a bunch of salmon or something on the Foreman grill. I could not walk away because if I walked away and I came back, I'd have $50 worth of fish gone.
Oh my God.
Gone. Yeah. So that was actually the harder part, was that I had a 14-year-old who was really reaching that growth spurt stage. But you know, luckily he's always loved chicken. We're not big like steak eaters or anything like that. We did go through a beige phase for quite a while. I'm sure you've heard of the beige phase, where I mean it was, yeah, we did that for a long time. And for me, my vices were also his vices, like chips, crackers. It was the salty and the sweet.
Yep.
And so I just told him, I was like, I can't have crackers in the house. I was like, I will find some other snacks for you to eat. We'll figure them out. I can't have crackers. I'm trying to think of what we started with. Right now, he's really into this, like this Smart Pop popcorn. I can't remember, but it's like an organic brand. It's not Smart Pop. It's another. Anyways, but yeah, we just found different snacks that I knew he would like. But that was the hardest part. I think we all say we want to get healthy for our kids. Is bullshit.
It's 100% bullshit. You have to
Absolutely.
get healthy for yourself.
Well, you have to get healthy for yourself, but even saying that, what happens is the minute it gets tough in that health journey, the minute that you have temptation in front of you, or you had a really bad day at work, or whatever trigger you had, and you come home, and of course what's at home, you know, the food, and you want the release of whatever stress you're under, the next thought is, well, my kid will love me if I'm overweight or not. My kid loves me unconditionally. And deep down, you know that. So the excuse of, I want to get healthy for my kids, is kind of bullshit. Because A, if that were true, if your kid is 10, 12, 14, and you're saying, well, I want to get healthy for my kid, then you would have done it the last 14 years, but you didn't. And the reason you didn't was because every time the going got tough, you came back to, I mean, they don't really care if they don't need a skinny mom. I take them everywhere. I take them to their activities. I cook for them. I clean for them. I help them with their homework.
Oh my God.
Like, you kind of go through that little mindset, again, the bullshit stories that you tell yourself. And we forget that the whole do as I say, not as I do, does not work. It does not. You cannot tell your kids, hey, I want you to make the healthy choices in the lunchroom at school, and then go home and you feed them crap and you eat crap. That doesn't work. They are literally learning every single behavior about life based on what you are showing them.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even think about that because I don't have kids. I don't. I have a stepson and I got him when he was 16, 17 years old and he was already ruined and he
Mm,
never lived with us. So I never even really thought about that. And when I say he
yeah.
was already ruined, he already was, his mindset was already set, um, based on, these are the foods I like, this is what I'm doing. And because he never lived with us, I never had the opportunity to influence him about, well, these foods are probably better for you than, eating a hot dog out of a hot dog stand every other day, that type of thing.
Yeah.
It's that way.
We
PhD
we
candidate.
tell we tell ourselves some really bullshit stories.
And how.
And I don't know how the hell we got started on food, but I know, so we were talking about alternate personas, um, and and we're talking about the fact you're kind of living an alternate persona when you have to show up to work, and then you're almost living a different life then. And I think that's where people get stuck and really fall into some bad habits, because you never feel like you're yourself. You're not able to be whoever you really want to be. And you go home and you go, who am I?
Yes. And one of the things that I think I as I've stepped back, and I have not worked in a corporate environment in 5 years. I have worked around corporate people. I have worked, certainly in the last year with my husband being home and, his mini office being upstairs. What I have discovered is this word professional. I
Oh,
really
yes.
think it needs to be flushed down the toilet. I have a coach. He's he's a coach that I have, and he says to us a lot, you shouldn't watch TV, take the batteries out of the remote, flush the remote down the toilet, flush it several hundred times until it actually goes down. Just flush the remote, get rid of the thing so you don't watch TV. And I think that we should do the same thing with the term professional, because I think that is part of our problem, because there is this idealized world of professional. And I think that's part of where, when I was an engineer, that bitch persona came from, because I had to be professional, but I had to be stern, I had to be tough, but I had to be professional. And if I were just being me, the me that I finally discovered when I left corporate and was able to calm the hell down. And for those people who knew me then and are probably watching this now going, holy God, if she would have just calmed the hell down and been this person, the things we could have accomplished, right? Um, if that word, if that idealized person, that persona was flushed down the toilet, I think corporate wouldn't be the ugly pain in the ass that it is.
Mm.
And I feel that, um, like when Eric was being discharged today, God bless it, he would not shut up. I'm like, that nurse is gonna break your nose again if you don't shut up. She's trying to give me information so that, life is gonna be a little bit better for you. And he's like, oh no, I got it. I'm like, you are just coming out of anesthesia. Shut
I was
up.
gonna say, because you're drugged.
Is you drunk? And I'm like, I'm holding his hand and I'm rubbing his arm and I'm like, now what was that? And then he gets mad at me, 4 hours later, because he's like, did you hear the information? I'm like, no, dumbass, because you wouldn't shut up. You just shut up. And I often feel that the professional persona type thing that you have to live with, or when you go in for that dreaded review with your boss, it's like, well, you aren't professional enough. Well, what the hell does that mean? And I think that's a thrown around term, because
Mhm.
if you don't straighten up and fly right. It's kind of like the mask holes, because that's a whole nother topic. But you walk in, you're doing your thing, and oh no, your nose slips out of your little mask, and the mask holes are all over you. Well, you know what? Up yours. Go away. None ya. If you don't like it, there are precautions. Move along. And I feel like it's the same thing. You just, you get blamed. You get this whole, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just it's a constant blame game that you don't even have the opportunity to say, you know what, I don't want to be professional because I feel that there's a better way. And that's just kind of my feeling on it. And again, I haven't been in corporate in 5 years, but I have a feeling that nothing has changed.
Not a whole lot. I work for a smaller company in my day job. And for example, we've always had like a casual dress where we can always wear jeans or casual dress to work, blah, blah, blah. But it's funny to me when we have a potential client visit our office, one of the rules that we have is that if there's going to be a potential client touring our offices, we have to dress up and we have to there can be like nothing on our desks and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, do they want to know how we get the job done? Or are they just looking for an appearance? Like, I don't understand, because I'm sorry, but if you show up by surprise, if you're a client and you show up without telling us, that's not what you're going to see. So why would we portray something that, and I understand a little bit, in particular in the field that we're in, is that maybe, hey, we're handling their business on their behalf. They want to make sure that, we're organized. And if we're ever audited, that we're going to manage that. And I'm thinking, we've got hundreds of clients. Like, if our stuff wasn't up to for snuff, like, whether or not I wear jeans and I have my potluck food on my desk isn't gonna matter. Like, I don't get this. But yes, so one of the rejections that I had when I was trying to get the role that I have now, that I really wanted, was I was denied because I wasn't professional enough. And I couldn't be client facing because I was unprofessional.
You? Me? I can see that. You? Really?
And so here's the thing, like, that's such a broad term. What is professional to you versus professional to me? I mean, when I'm talking with whether I'm talking with a health coaching client or I'm talking with a client in my day job in project management, it doesn't matter, because overall, you don't want to just hear me only give these straight facts. We're not going to laugh about anything, blah, blah. I mean, things happen, especially now we're working from home. I was on a call the other day and Alexa comes on with her, "Good morning. Today is National blah, blah, blah day. I'm going to tell you a joke." And I'm on like this conference call with 10 people. And I'm like, hold on, guys, Alexa's telling a joke. The CFO of the company that was on the call busts out laughing. He's like, "Oh, your Alexa does that too?" I'm like, "Yeah, blah, blah, blah." And so, listen, is that unprofessional?
It's life. It's life. To parallel that, I'm not cleaning this house. You're out of your mind. So we had, and that's another topic for this podcast. So Eric is upstairs and he's like, "You can't have the maids come this early." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I was on the call with the other executives and blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "What? So the executives don't poop either?" And he's like, "No, it's not that. It's that they're trying to have this meeting and there's vacuum cleaners." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they have maids coming and cleaning their house too."
very difficult for me to concentrate in front of them to be
So-
able to do
So
my job.
he is trying to get me to understand,
Drugged right now.
huh?
Shouldn't he be drugged right now?
Yes, I really wish he were. So he doesn't he's trying to make me understand this, and I'm like, okay, it's just life. It's just life. And so yeah, I really wish that the professional thing was tamped down just a little bit. A little bit.
I think it can be. I think it can be. And I think overall, I am seeing a swing a little bit. Like when you really think about it, there was a time, in fact, when I was 18 and I started at the sheriff's office for a long time within our dress code. It stated if you wore a skirt or a dress, you wore pantyhose.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised. They probably said that at GM too.
Yeah. I mean, it was very, so I do think that there's been progress, in some of those things, but yeah, I'm like, so what is professional? I don't know, but anyway, yeah, no. Okay, so I want to know a funny persona.
Funny persona. You want to
A
hear one of my
funny persona.
accents, don't you?
I don't, oh, well, maybe you don't just have accents. Do you have like a funny, like I used to ask people if you have a rap name. Do you have a rap
I
name?
do not. I'm too straight laced. I saw you putting that up on Facebook one day, and I'm like, yeah, no, not
Nope.
me. Nope. Nope. I mean, I grew up. I lived near Kid Rock before I moved out of Michigan. He was a neighbor. He was a neighbor. And I remember when he performed at the Super Bowl, I was at a neighbor's house watching. Yeah, that was the same time Janet Jackson flashed the whole nation, and everybody forgot Kid Rock was performing, and they kept talking about this guy named Bobby. And I'm like, who's Bobby? Who are they talking about? I see Kid Rock. And my boyfriend at the time, he goes, that guy there, that Kid Rock guy, that's Bobby. That's who they're talking about. Because his first name is Bob.
No, it is, but I wouldn't have. Oh my
But they all
God.
knew him because they went to school with him. And they're like, yeah, Bobby's out there. We're so excited to see Bobby perform. Like,
That's
oh,
hilarious.
Bobby.
And then Janet Jackson stole the show, and that was a big hoopla.
Yeah.
And of course, now you can basically show up to any award show like that now.
Yeah, with your crotch hanging out and simulating sex. I mean, what else? But no, I do not have a rap name to. You do, though.
Right. And I don't remember. Well, I do remember somehow it started when I was working in the payroll department, and people were calling me Nelly Nell or something, and then it was like J Nelly Nell, and it just kind of stuck. I have no idea. I have no idea. I was a different person back then too, so I don't really know. But yeah, so I don't funny personas. I think that was part of how the conversation started last week. What prompted all of this is you were trying to show up to a network meeting, and you felt like I'm just like the other 50% of the people here. And I was like, no, you're not. You're a recovered engineer. You're whoever you decide you're going to be today. And you can introduce yourself as that because, hey, first of all, if you introduce yourself as I'm a well recovered engineer, everybody's gonna be like, a what? A recovered and oh, first of all, it's gonna grab their attention. They're gonna remember that. And then you can go from there, and you get to stand out and be whoever you want to be now.
Mm-hmm. And I do. I do introduce myself in a lot of cases as I'm the recovering engineer.
Love
or
it.
I am a recovering engineer. And they ask me what I do. Oh, I'm a recovering engineer. And they look at me like, you're what?
I think anybody who worked in any kind of tech field will be very familiar and be like, oh,
Oh, you escaped.
I'm working for I'm a recovering programmer because there's some of these other areas of tech that is so, the demand and the stress is so bad. Yeah,
Mhm.
super curious for some of that.
I'm waiting to find that person because that person is
They're
really,
there.
I know that they're there. It's just a matter of tracking them down.
They can't come out of their hole.
No, they really can't. And if they do, they're like little moles. They can't, the sun hurts their eyes and they're just like, oh
Serious.
my God, no.
No lie. They're in a room that is dark with nothing but computer screens for hours on end. And yeah, there is no, and monster drinks like lined up on the wall. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, they're like beer cans in a fraternity house. It's insane.
Fact.
Yep.
Fact. Yeah, these people are there.
Yep.
So it's yeah, just crazy. All right. Time check, the project manager in me. Time check.
I have had so much fun with this. I am so looking forward to next week.
Next week. I don't know what the topic's going to be yet,
No, I don't,
but
but it's going to be
someone else
fun.
is going to inspire us. And we will actually, I think those make the best topics is when we're inspired. I can still actually, I have some more personas that we can share that we do need to, you know what, to carry on with this conversation a little bit. There were a couple of areas where we were like, okay, another conversation another day, because I think we also need to talk about women showing up confidently in any conversation, but confidently in that sense of when those feelings of self-doubt or not enoughness or whatever starts to appear, what it's like to tap into, this is exactly what we're going to talk about. What it's like to kind of tap into an alternate persona that maybe you have that you can use to kind of put on that face for a minute and act as if, so that you can experience that confidence, and you do that over and over until you are that confident, worthy, independent woman that you're trying to be. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And how possibly coaching can help you.
Oh, this is totally on my list. I know with my clients, like I have a list of experimental exercises that we can try. And one of them is kind of like this being bad or whatever. And one of them that I have in my list that I really like because I've done it a few times and it's my favorite, is kind of that alternate persona where all of a sudden where you have this other being that is so strong and confident and knows that you are more than worthy of being there, and the ability to command the attention and respect in the room, not demand, but command it
Mhm.
with your energy and in that showing up with that confidence. Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll have to share some stories about that. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. I'm so glad. Let me go ahead and conclude and stop the live stream on Facebook. Bye, everybody. Tune in next week. Take your life back with Grit and Grace. And we will be here at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. And you all have a good week.
Have a great week.
Stop the recording.